What's up? What's up? What's up, Vanguardians? Welcome back to the show. We have an awesome one for you guys today. Some truly insane and honestly pretty hilarious stories to cover today. We're going to be getting into Elon Musk's just absolute tyrannical spree of censorship over at Twitter. We're also going to be talking about some of Trump's big announcement. Can't wait to get into that. And also, if we have some time, hopefully Vaush's reaction to the recent Shoe0nHead drama, which I'm excited to break down as well. But yeah, what's up, Zach? How you doing, bro?
Bro, I know every time we bring up the weather, people are like, it's not actually that cold where you live. I live in Antarctica and it's fucking very cold here. You live in, paradise compared to where I live. Well, where I live, it feels fucking cold today, which is why I have no coffee in front of me because I just couldn't bear to make the second trip outside today to get more coffee. I should have just asked for 2 cups, but I didn't. I tried to go to this new place and they only served espresso. So I got like this little baby thing and now I have no coffee anyway. That's neither here nor there. The weather's fucking cold where we are. That's, I guess, par for the course this time of year. I'm ready to rock and roll. Just to say nothing about the fact that it gets pretty chilly up in the studio, which we record in. But anyway, rolling on through. You want to shout out the patrons and get this show on the road?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's freaking freezing, guys. I hate this cold so much. It's bone chilling. And we do make our coffee, Michael, sometimes, but I think we're out of it right now.
Yeah, so
Right.
here's the thing. Gavin and I have done the math, right? We've done the math. The coffee, we'd like to shop local whenever we can, right? It's something, we know the people that roast the coffee, that brew the coffee, that make the coffee. I know every single one of their names. You develop a rapport with people and you start doing the math and you're like, okay, one bag of coffee is $20 from there. After tax, it's like 22 and some change, right? And you're like, okay, I can buy 10 cups of coffee there for like $25. Plus, okay, you have to throw in a tip, but who cares about tipping? You get to hang out with there for a little bit, whatever, all that kind of shit. So yeah, really, it's like you save a little bit of money. We only really do go there once a day, and it's always delicious. Also, I feel like this could just be me, but you don't get that same tasting coffee if you brew it at home. Like they go from, if you go from where they roast it just to right into the batch brew machine. Hey, call me a spoiled, call me whatever. It's $2.50. It's like a poor man's luxury. A really good hot cup of coffee.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, having a fresh hot cup of coffee made for you is something that I think is worth $2.50. And yeah, maybe that's a bougie opinion, but it just is, bro. Like it's just not the same when you make it yourself. I don't know what it is. Maybe if we had like a fucking $1,000 espresso machine or whatever it would be. But this is something about going to be like, here's your hot cup. Like, thank you. That's what I need.
Vin and I do not get. I don't hardly get anything else ever. I never get anything else while I'm at the coffee shop. It's just a hot cup of coffee. But anyway, this is besides the point. We're way off in the weeds talking about this is our avocado toast moment. I get it out, boomers. It's okay that we spend our money irresponsibly, and that's why we won't be able to retire. Wink, wink. It has nothing to do with the climate devastation and the fact that, the whole world is unlikely to survive our 100-year birthday. Okay, so shout out to the comrades, the Vanguardians, the super Vanguardians, all you lovely people that support our show to keep the lights on in here. We wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Yeah, huge shout out to the patrons. Thanks so much for the support, guys. We like to start and end all of our live shows with a big old shout out to the patron community. Thank you guys so much for the support. The link's in the description. If you want to hit that up and support the show, it's the best way to keep us sustainable. So we really appreciate the support from our patrons, which is why we like to shout them out at the beginning and end of every live stream. So hit up that link in the description, patreon.com/the Vanguard channel. Hit it up. We really appreciate you guys. Wouldn't be able to do the show without you. And before we get into our first story, we already have a couple super chats piling up. So really appreciate that, you guys. And let's quickly answer those before we get into our first couple of stories. And while we wait for some more comrades to trickle in to the stream, make sure to hit that like button, get some more comrades in the chat. Would really appreciate if everyone watching hits that like button. And first super chat of the live stream, the honor goes to Alex, talking to the people. Really appreciate you, Alex, as always, for the $5. Nothing better on a Friday than a joint and a Vanguard episode. Hey, that's our key demographic right there. The stoners watching us in the middle of the day, soaking in the political commentary. Yeah, really appreciate it, Alex. Thanks so much for the super chat. So glad you're enjoying the episode, or enjoy the show rather. Really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, shout out to you, Alex, holding it down, the Vanguard community. Really appreciate that. And yeah, hope to deliver a thoughtful episode for you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, bro. Really appreciate that one. And once again, Alex, Zach looking well dressed. Indeed, you are looking quite dapper today, Zach.
Oh yeah, I just got to go to the bar after this. It's the holiday time. Got to kind of dress the occasion, cocktail world. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, thanks again for the super chat, Alex. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Gabe, for the 999. Happy Friday, fellas. Shout out to the OG Kyle hitting 1 billion views. Yeah, shout out to Kyle, man. That's crazy. I saw he dropped a video about that this morning, like celebrating 1 billion views on Secular Talk. That is incredibly impressive. And yeah, shout out to the OG Kyle Kalinske.
Yeah, holy shit. I had no idea until you dropped that super chat. So shout out to you, Gabe. Breaking news to me here on the Vanguard Live. Yeah, that's incredibly impressive. With everything I know about Kyle and just his his consistency, his dedication to his own grind and forging his own path. Good for him for just, fucking sticking it out. 1 billion is a lot of views. Abstractly, you don't do this for a living. You don't really think about how much that is. I never did, right? When Gavin and I were like, yeah, we're going to start a podcast. We're going to get millions and millions of views and it'll be great. We're hilarious. That was how I got into this business, right? It doesn't work out like that. But to think about somebody actually just being a regular person, like Kyle had no connections. He was literally just a dude talking into his webcam, gets 1 billion views, and is now a staple, a fixture of this entire space. Congratulations to that guy. That's a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely. It seems like Kyle's finally turned around the ship over at Secular Talk. For a while there, it seemed like he was losing subscribers and losing relevance. And now it seems like he's back on top, back to steadily gaining subscribers. So I'm proud of the dude. And he's doing a great job over there. So thank you so much, Gabe. Really appreciate the 999. And
goes to show how just sticking to your principles will pay off in the long run if you really keep after it. Because we were all like, oh God, is it gonna? He was like, no, I'm gonna keep doing what I do. We asked him about it pretty point blank. We were like, what are you gonna do differently? And he was like, nothing. This is what I do. This is what the people who like me like. And if you don't like me, find something else to watch. I'm gonna keep doing it my way, this way. And I was like, honestly, respect, bro. Wow, big respect. So I'm glad it's turned around for him and that it's really working out. And that is honestly insta ban, permanent ban. Alex is banned. Sorry, Alex. No amount of money can salvage this ban. You are now permanently hostage. You are banned. That's the only first degree permanent instant ban. No appeals, no trial, no jury. Just the judge of one, and I hope to. This would be a card. What is it? What's the cardinal sin, right? I don't know. Yeah, a cardinal offense here at the Vanguard you've just committed. How dare you offend me in this way?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Zach, man. That's a bad take, Alex. I'm just not someone that really loves milk or sweet drinks in general when it comes to a hot beverage. So yeah, I'll probably have hot chocolate once a year around Christmas time or something. Maybe if I'm watching a Christmas movie and I'm like, oh, this is an appropriate time. Just like how once a year in October I'll have a pumpkin spice latte just to do it, just for the sake of fucking doing. I'll be like, all right, time to go get a pumpkin spice latte. It's October. Once in December, I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna grab some hot chocolate. But yeah, that's coffee is king.
Yeah, absolutely not. I'm a grown man. I never drink hot chocolate. I don't like hot chocolate. I won't drink it. Don't drink it. I actually, the last time I tried to drink some hot chocolate, I was like, this is actually fucking gross. This is just hot chocolate milk. What the fuck is the big deal? This is just the chocolate milk, that shitty fucking chocolate milk. In some cases, it's worse. It's just water and powdered milk. Think about that. Do you think this is the Great Depression? I'm not fucking drinking that shit. One, I'm a grown man. Two, I'm not that hard up. I'm not drinking, powdered milk and water. Pass. Absolutely pass. But thank you anyway, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. We appreciate it. And the one kind of hot chocolate that I do kind of fuck with is Mexican hot chocolate. I don't know if you've ever had that. It's pretty good if you make it correctly, but it's still not something that I'm drinking a lot. Either way, thanks so much, Alex. Really appreciate it. And yes, we were on your podcast. You're not actually banned. Don't worry, Alex. We love you. But thanks
You're
again.
on thin ice, pal.
Thank you also, Katie, so much for the $10. Really appreciate that. Got a Christmas bonus, so sharing love. Wow, what a kind gesture, Katie. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the show. Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Katie. That's so generous of you. We really appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed the show. I don't think we've ever seen you chat before, so that's cool as well. We always forget that there are more people than the constant like feed of the same folks in the chat. So always nice to see a new Vanguardian. So shout out to you, Katie. Really appreciate that. And shout out to you, M Mile. Bad at pronunciation. I apologize. Couple of bucks towards a space heater to keep you all toasty this season. They work wonders with just a slight fire hazard. You know what? I've been thinking about that actually. Getting a little space heater, plugging it up right over here or like right in the middle over here might not be the worst idea. Might be worth the fire hazard. This is an old building made of brick. Be all right. Anyway, shout out to you, Mel. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, this is an old building. In fact, did you get a call from the apartment? They were telling me they're going to come in and like check to make sure my installation is up to date in my room or something. Did you get a call like that?
I never get any of the calls. They all go to Salisa, so I imagine she got one.
Yeah, I was like, they're about to fucking tell me I've been ingesting asbestos or some shit for the last 2 years. Fuck my life.
Gavin's like a curse, dude. I swear, maybe living with you was a mistake. Because I remember at your last apartment, like he got this like pretty nice place, right? Like that was across the street. Like you would not expect it to be like a fucking place that would ever have problems, and then it like flooded your entire crib.
Yep, they flooded that shit. Well, they didn't intentionally flood it, but it was so shoddily constructed that it ended up flooding. And then they had constant construction for the first like 6 months of the Vanguard when I still lived there. There was like a literal fucking construction shit right outside my window going like all day long. That shit drove me fucking crazy. But yeah, thank you so much, Emil. Really appreciate that. We'll definitely invest in a space heater. And also interested in your opinion on this one, Zach, as our resident mixologist.
Yeah, I also prefer Jameson in my Irish coffees when I make them. I know the place that popularized Irish coffee in America in San Francisco, the dude that like invented them at the like back in the day, airports used to sell or not sell really. They would like hand out cocktails in the 50s. That's part of like cocktail history. Very different now. Obviously, they don't do that shit. It's not as cool. But that guy, the guy that invented the Irish coffee, he used Tullamore Dew, which I just am not that big of a fan of. Everybody raves and blows their load about Tullamore Dew. I would go JMO over Tullamore Dew for sure. But yeah, I actually just made my first proper traditional Irish coffee of the season last night, where you actually like whip the whipped cream in your cocktail shaker. It's actually not that hard. If you have a set of cocktail shakers at home and you're just looking to make like whipped cream, you can just whip it in there. It's a good technique. Anyway, shout out to you to Blue Sky. And yeah, cheers.
Yeah, one time I ordered a Irish coffee and I was expecting it to be like all whipped cream and Baileys and delicious. And then it literally was just black coffee with Jameson. And admittedly, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I'm not a huge whiskey guy. And I was just like, it's just like drinking like hot whiskey. And I was like, I just want to taste the coffee. I thought it would be like full of Baileys and sweet deliciousness, but I can't say I'm the biggest fan of just the straight whiskey and black coffee combination. But respect to you, to Blues Guy, and thanks so much for the $2.
When the last 2 years when I've seen my sister on Christmas, Chez Charlie's is like one of the only bars that's open, and Chez Charlie's is this like dart bar, like an old school dive bar, but like with a lot of darts, like traditional like metal heavy darts, and they're always open on fucking Christmas. And I remember the last year I went there and I ordered a black coffee Jameson, except the coffee was like ice cold, and then you just like grunt and gives it to you. I was like, all right, I just like fucking slugged it, like plugged my nose. I'm like, yeah, fucking get it back. But
that sounds like very like exactly like something that would happen to Chez Charlie.
Yep. But anyway, yeah, the traditional version is just 2 sugar cubes, black coffee, 1 1/3 ounce of whiskey, and then top with heavy whipped cream. But not any like of that carbonated bullshit. Anyway, we've spent a lot of time on this. Shout out to you to Blue Sky. Some Donnie Darko stuff with the flood.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about Donnie Darko. You sent us a super chat about that the other day, Alex. That's such a great movie. I know we were already talking about it, but I do fucking love Donnie Darko. Such a classic. But yeah, thank you so much, Alex. Really do appreciate that one. I wish Richard Kelly would make another truly great film. Even if he doesn't make another great film, I just wish he would get back in the game. It's been like a fucking decade or more since he made a movie.
I
But
think
yeah, thanks so much.
I think making Donnie Darko at such a young age, as impressive as it was, and it was extremely impressive that he pulled that off. He was kind of the last of the wonderkind generation where they would just give like some guy that could talk a big game and graduate film school with the right connections like a bunch of money and just like, hey, yeah, here's some access to some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Go for it, kid. We're gonna work you 22 hours a day. And I think that was a lot of like pressure and stress on him. Like I remember one time he said that he lost like 30 pounds while he was shooting Donnie Darko, and like some like he was just like anxious and stressed all the time. And then he comes back and he finally makes another movie and like everybody hates it. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's just traumatized, maybe that's just put him through too much. Like, but you're right, it would be nice just for the guy to release a passion project, just to get to the point where he's like, fuck, like if he could just get Kevin Smith's perspective on filmmaking for like just a day or two, crank out a new script and just like go for it. I said that loosely, like Gavin knows what I mean, other people might not. I meant like, just the fact that he clearly does not give a fuck about the critical response, sometimes to the, quality deficit, if I do say so myself. But, hey, shout out to you, Alex. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. And I think at one point, Richard Kelly was like teasing a potential, he was like working on a sequel to Donnie Darko or another film in that universe. So that would be interesting if that happened. I don't know if that's a good idea, but it would definitely be interesting to see what he would do in that universe in another project. But yeah, and shout out once again to you, Katie. Really do appreciate that kind super chat. And longtime watcher, thank you so much for the support over the years or however long you've been watching. Really appreciate you for tuning in. Everyone, make sure to hit that like button, by the way, before we get into our first main story. Would really appreciate if everyone hit that like button. Also, shout out to you, Madison. First time seeing y'all live in a while. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate that. Jameson, best whiskey, hands down. Interesting.
That's
take.
a lie, but that's just not true. But thank you. Appreciate that. It can be your favorite whiskey, but it's not the best whiskey.
The best is Fireball, right?
Yeah, that's the only whiskey Gavin will drink, much to my fucking just like, I'm like, Gavin, we grew up in the Midwest. I'm always like, Gavin, what if wouldn't it be great if we did like this like deconstructed take on this like modern classic, illustrate our roots? And he'll be like, maybe you should put mezcal in it instead. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense for a Kansas City menu. It was like, anyway, this is what happens. You guys are like, what is it like off air? I'm like, this is what we talk about off air when we're not talking about politics. Right? Anyway, shout out to you, Madison. Really appreciate that. And Gavin, do you want to kick it off with the Bari Weiss? Elon Musk losing even his number one stance, the Maldine, the banning spree, as you've dubbed it in the headline. Do you want to go ahead and intro this guy? I know you've been following it pretty closely.
Yeah, absolutely. So this shit at Twitter has been absolutely insane to watch go down over the last couple days, especially because Elon Musk, in collaboration with Matt Taibbi and Bari Weiss, just released the bombshell Twitter files. Like, let's expose how censorious and authoritarian the previous regime at Twitter really was. And they drop all this information, some of which was pretty interesting and compelling and certainly, newsworthy in my opinion, no doubt about it. But it's just very funny that after they made such a stink about this bombshell story detailing the censorship that was commonplace in the previous regime, just days after that, Elon Musk totally decides to undermine the intended effect of that story by becoming even more fucking censorious, by imposing even more censorship than that of the previous regime. So much so that I think that the previous regime now looks downright fucking reasonable in comparison. Let's take a quick look here at this. Actually, fuck CNN. I want to pull up the AP article. I prefer the layout on AP. It's something about the CNN.
Also, the ads.
The ads are horrible. Yeah, at least CNN allows you to ad block, though. Whenever I try to pull up a fucking Fox News article in here, they won't even let me ad block. So that's really annoying. But anyway, yeah, here's a nice clean layout. Shout out to the graphic design team at the AP. Anyway, Twitter suspends journalists who wrote about owner Elon Musk. Yeah, so let's check this out. Twitter on Thursday Twitter on Thursday suspended the accounts of journalists who cover the social media platform and its new owner, Elon Musk. Among them, reporters working for the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Voice of America, and other publications. And I actually have a list here of at least some of the people that were banned. The Elon Jet account, Jack Sweeney, who ran the Elon Jet account, Mastodon, the competitor social media, IGD News, Aaron Rupar, Donnie O'Sullivan from CNN, Drew Harwell from Washington Post, Matt Binder from like the fucking Majority Report, Ryan Mack, the New York Times, Micah Lee, the Intercept, and fucking Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann. We're talking about like normie ass libs here. We're not talking about like some fucking far left, Antifa bullshit, like something that you could potentially come up with a justification for banning, like, oh, they were promoting violence or they were calling for the genocide of the bourgeois or like nothing like that. We're talking about normie ass libs. We're talking about fucking Keith Olbermann. So yeah, that's the first thing that's hilarious. What was your reaction to this, Zach?
So it's just hilarious because, well, I can't say I'm surprised. I haven't been super surprised by any of this. What's baffling to me is the fact that like it could have ever gone any other way. Like, you know what I mean? Like this was bound to end up here when Elon took over, right? This man is extremely thin-skinned. Everything that he said about free speech was in order to like indoctrinate that like crowd of people that he could kind of use as his shield against criticism, right? He wanted like an armor of supporters around him in case, so he blamed everything on the like woke libs, whatever, but he doesn't really care about that. He really just cared about, being in charge, being in control, and then he realized he was running the company into the ground. And so he's pivoted even harder into, his like right-wing deal. And he had the Twitter files and, he was trying really hard to obfuscate. Right. But I think it's just his shell just cracked. Right. And he's like, nope, fuck it. I'm just going full on authoritarian. He's fired everybody around him. That's not a yes man. They're all probably sleep deprived. I mean, who knows what kind of fucking regime that dude's running at the Twitter headquarters. Did you see the other day they were auctioning off furniture because they're behind on their rent? They can't make their rent payments at the fucking. Yeah, look that up. Pull that up so people believe me. This is not a drill, guys. This is a fact. They have been auctioning off furniture at the Twitter headquarters to pay their rent for their Twitter space. And also, I don't know if you guys followed this, but another fucked up thing that happened over there, and the reason, like, when they were doing a lot of walkouts and they're like talking about like, oh, they repurpose these rooms so that employees can sleep there. A lot of the times that they relying really heavily on employees who they literally have their visa hostage, which I just want to draw a quick parallel to. Remember like a week and a half ago, 6 weeks ago, we were all up in arms about how Qatar has this program where they can seize your passport, right? And then you just have to work for a sub-slave wage and they can basically do whatever they want. While you're building them, soccer stadiums and whatever for the World Cup. Well, guess what? Elon Musk is relying on a very adjacent kind of workforce, right? People who've come to America, they have kids here. Maybe their kids are in school. Maybe they bought a house here. But their employment is visa contingent on the fact that they have a job at Twitter. So it's way fucking harder for those people to just walk up and leave and go get a new job because they might only have until like the end of the year to have that renewed. Also, in the holiday time, a lot of tech companies don't hire. These are all the different kind of things that are going on in the background, right? And so the walls are about to start the walls are about to start tumbling down. This is what happens when I don't have my coffee. My mouth gets all dry and I can't speak properly. But anyway, the walls are going to all come down on top of this guy. And so what can he do except just insulate himself as far as he can? He doesn't want the jet tracker. He doesn't want anything keeping tabs on him, right? He just wants to feel in charge and feel like he's the biggest man in the world. And I can't say that this is not related to the booing at the Dave Chappelle show. I mean, I think he's just taking L after L after L, and he needs to just like be in a safe place. Like he needs his safe space as a billionaire, safe space, this little snowflake.
Absolutely. And let's keep reading so we can find out about the justification for these bans. well, or lack thereof. It says the company hasn't explained to the journalists why it took down the accounts and made their profiles and past tweets disappear. But Musk took to Twitter on Thursday night to accuse journalists of sharing private information about his whereabouts that he described as basically assassination coordinates. What a dramatic little fucker. What, he's so extra, bro.
Snowflake.
Assassination coordinates. Shut the fuck up. All that this Elon Jet account, which tracked Elon Musk's private jet, all it did was post information that was already public and has already been ruled as First Amendment protected free speech. It's not doxing. This is information that's already fucking out there. Assassination coordinates, LOL. So then he bans the account that was tracking his jet after providing no evidence for that claim, but then also bans a handful of journalists for just talking about it. Like, I guess you could justify the just banning the account for the jet on these grounds if you're really gonna, make that your case about the doxing. Obviously, that's not a legitimate justification to ban that account, but at least there's like a logical through line there. But then to just start banning all of these random journalists on the left because they reported on you banning that account and talked about this information, absolute fucking madness. One of the flimsiest possible excuses for just an utterly tyrannical terror of censorship and this mass banning of your own critics.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that we're seeing so much pushback from the chat a little bit. A lot of people are saying that this is definitely doxing and that this is a violation of his rights. But the conservative ass Supreme Court, right? The people who have basically stood in the way of making any firm decisions that protect our right to privacy, right? They let the Patriot Act happen without striking it down, right? They let all these massive violations to our ability to live with privacy. This is the same Supreme Court we're talking about. Okay. They've ruled that you are allowed to fucking publish that shit. That is our, literally, Gavin, we just laid that out, that it is already ruled that is free speech. So hard to bark up the I'm going to be the free speech guy and then ban somebody from the platform for practicing what meets the undisputed legal definition of free speech in this country, for one. Two, I saw a hilarious tweet that I think I should share now. It was like the great and quick, easy solution to Elon's problem here. He gets to, keep his word and not ban the Elon Jets account, but he also gets to fly a little bit more with some privacy. He could just take a commercial airline. He could just not fly privately and destroy the fucking planet with all of his like fucking private jet things, right? It was like I saw a tweet. It was like, I stand with Elon on this issue. Let's just ban private jets. Like, you know what I mean? Let's just force everybody that wants to fly commercially. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. It's like, bro, no one's making you be the fucking world's richest man flying around in your bougie ass private jet. No one made you buy Twitter. Shut the fuck up. You're not a victim. And also, Alex, thank you for the super chat, Alex, for the $5. Let's start from the first one. Greenwald had a weird take on this. He said the left is hypocritical for being against the bans because they're for bans for other people. Well, and that was an interesting point by Glenn. I think it was a little bit, I don't know what the right word is. Because yeah, those people were honest about their opinion on the censorship, but the whole point of this story is that Elon Musk was out here claiming to be a free speech maximalist. People like Matt Binder or fucking Aaron Rupar or whoever the fuck else got banned, like, yeah, they weren't claiming to be free speech absolutists. And I think that their stance is that private companies can moderate content according to their own TOS, versus someone like Elon Musk, who literally went in there with the express intent to make free speech absolutism the policy on Twitter. But it's still a fair point to say, like, some of these leftists might have some hypocrisy if they're now complaining about being censored. Either way, Glenn Greenwald also said this, which I think is a really good point. He said Musk's claim for these bans is they link to sites showing his plane's movement, which he regards as doxing and endangers his family. Even if true, should be a warning at most. Permanent bans of multiple journalists look like the old censorship regime liberals long cheered. So even Glenn Greenwald, who's defended Elon Musk and criticized a lot of the liberal pushback to his attempts, quote unquote, to make Twitter less censorious, even Glenn fucking Greenwald is out here saying this is basically no different than what the old regime did. And this is exactly what, Elon Musk said he was going to fix about Twitter. So some of you people are saying like, oh, I think this tweet is pretty obvious. The point that Glenn is making is pretty obvious to anyone that actually cares about having a principled defense of free speech in the First Amendment.
Absolutely. And some of these people that have gotten banned, they've gotten banned for like just things that I don't think are a violation of the terms of service, right? So the other part of this is that, Jack Dorsey, at any point, if he had, come out and cavalierly just started banning people left and right, or like at his own discretion. I mean, wasn't that the entire crux of the Twitter files, right? Is that they just made up an excuse to ban Donald Trump right after January 6th, and like that was supposed to be one of the big bombshells. That was a real snooze for me, guys, so I'm sorry I didn't do a good job covering it. Every time I was like, yeah, fucking corrupt people behave corruptly. What? I just meant that I wasn't like, I didn't like super actively follow the Twitter files. Like I couldn't get like fucking excited about it. Like we talked about it on the show, and I engaged with it, but I thought the biggest bombshell was the fact that they had no real reason for banning Trump. They just decided to, right? Well, guess what? There was nothing in the TOS that said that Matt Binder should have been fucking banned. He just got swept up in Elon's clean sweep of like fucking basically targeted bans, which again were just at his own discretion, right? And again, in conflict of how he'd stated he would run the platform when he said that he was going to not make any content or any decisions regarding remove bans or content removal until he'd met with like a group of people that were going to fairly represent both the left, right, and center in this country, or whatever his wording was. I'm paraphrasing, but he put out a statement like that on Twitter. Anyway, clearly none of that has happened. None of that was ever going to happen. But yeah, now it's just indistinguishable from the old Twitter the whole like old Twitter policy. I almost said Twitter guard just because I ran out of things to say, and I was like, no, that's not going to work here, Zach. You can't buy your way out with that with everything. But but what I'm like mostly getting at here is that I just think that the one key difference is that the old Twitter would have never really crossed the line and like banned like Sean Hannity or like fucking a mainstream just cavalierly overnight, but like, yeah, fuck it. Or the right wing in this country would have shat itself, dude. And probably correctly so, which is why I think I have a little bit of a different take here. I think it's actually arguable to say that Twitter's gotten worse as far as it's like, yeah, exactly. I think that it's actually brazenly worse than it was beforehand, because at least they would try and explain with rationale and like a clear, for the most part, why people were getting banned. And let's look at the difference between the people who were getting banned, like white supremacists and Nazis and people who were like dog whistling to them, and now some people who are trolling the richest man in the world. Like, where are your sympathies at again, gang? Like, I don't know. I'm on a little bit of a hill here, but it just seems like this is actually noticeably worse. And I'm not like the biggest Twitter person, but
right. And thanks again, Alex, for the $5. I feel like Glenn doesn't understand the difference between basic left-wing opinion and genuinely hateful content. I mean, I think Glenn's a free speech absolutist. That's how he describes himself. So in his opinion, the genuinely hateful content should be left up, as should the genuinely hateful content, regardless of where it's coming from. But I do think that, the point that Zach is making is very accurate too, that like at least the old regime was like, there was at least some rationale behind it. Like, we're going to try to prevent these extremist talking points from entering the mainstream discourse, where now it's just Elon Musk. Whenever he gets his fucking fifis hurt, he's like, ban, like a child, like a literal fucking child. It's so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you, Alex. Really appreciate your contributions to the conversation, and I'm appreciating this debate that's unfolding in chat. Sometimes I get a little bit distracted. I'm like reading it while I'm trying to like speak, and I'm like, fuck, I can't read chat and speak at the same time, though I will learn to walk and chew bubblegum someday. Anyway, do you want to go right into Vaush Shoe0nHead, Gavin, or do you want to pull up? Did you have more to pull up?
Yeah, one sec. I'm trying to find the. Yeah, here we go. Because we got Bari Weiss weighing in on this. Bari Weiss was, of course, one of the two journalists alongside Matt Taibbi, who Elon Musk selected to release the bombshell explosive Twitter files story. Yeah, and And Bari Weiss herself, now mere days after releasing this information and collaborating with Elon Musk himself, um, tweeted this. She says, the old regime at Twitter governed by its own whims and biases, and sure looks like the new regime has the same problem. I oppose it in both cases. And I think those journalists who were reporting on a story of public importance should be reinstated. So that's pretty strong language. I mean, she's being diplomatic about it. She's a fucking professional journalist or whatever. But she's in no uncertain terms coming out here and saying like, oh yeah, that guy who I was literally just collaborating with 2 days ago to release a story about how authoritarian and censorious the previous regime at Twitter was. Oh yeah, that guy. I oppose his regime now as well, and their censorious tendencies as well. It's basically the same fucking thing that I just helped to expose.
Yeah, dude. Elon starting 5 is walking out, dude. This is insane. This is bad for his rep. I mean, he's fucked. His goose is getting cooked, man. If Glenn is starting to leave, these were people who believed in him. I never believed in him because he was a billionaire, and I always got bad vibes from the guy. I'll be it because he was the richest man in the world, and I didn't think that was a super hard calculation to make, that, oh, hey, maybe this super rich guy isn't looking out for our best interest. But a lot of people tried to give him the benefit of the doubt for whatever reason. People like Bari Weiss, people like Glenn, and now they're like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You're making it impossible for us to think the best of you. You are making it so fucking impossible for you to be coming across as like the free speech guy right now that we have to leave, or our brand will be permanently tarnished. Also, we just disagree with you now. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it is I think it's insane to watch just the self-immolation and what kind of repercussions that's having, that even the people who were willing to go to bat with him, right? Like, he was like, how can I pick the most sympathetic reporter possible in Bari Weiss to help unload the Twitter files mere days ago, and now she's like, no, not me.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm waiting for Matt Taibbi to put out a similar statement. I haven't seen anything from Matt Taibbi. But if I was him, I'd be embarrassed as fuck right now, to be completely honest, to have been collaborating with Elon Musk under the guise of like, oh, we're working together to expose the censorious nature of the previous Twitter regime, only now to become a participant in it, or a collaborator of the dude in charge, who is now doubling down and making the platform even fucking worse than what you're working to expose. Like, what the fuck, bro? This is insane. And Bari Weiss clearly, feels some of that, because she felt compelled to put out that tweet. And hilariously, Elon Musk started fucking groveling and being like, here, I'll show you guys this one. He replied like 3 times to her tweet, increasingly desperate fashion. So there's the original tweet. She says, I oppose the censorship in this new regime. It goes on a bit of a tear here. And then he says, what should be the consequences of doxing someone's real-time exact location? Assume your child is at that location, as mine was, which isn't even fucking true, we can get into that a little bit later, but that's not true. And he says, Bari, this is a real question, not rhetorical. What is your opinion? Rather than rigorously pursuing truth, you are virtue signaling to show that you are, quote unquote, good in the eyes of the media elite, to keep one foot in both worlds. So this woman, who he just decided was a worthy fucking receptacle for his bombshell Twitter files, and was like, oh, she's an independent, free thinking, journalist who will take this seriously, and I trust her to release these files. Now he's coming out here and calling her a virtue signaler, who's just, coming out here and signaling her virtue rather than pursuing truth, even though she's just stating the obvious fact that what he's doing is just as censorious, if not more, than the previous regime, which they just worked together to expose.
100%. And honestly, this is the most Elon Musk fucking just mauling response ever. It was like when he was groveling to Stephen King and trying to get Stephen King to win back over, but even worse, because as you pointed out, he literally just hand selected Bari Weiss to be like his, we were pointing this out earlier, like anything that would be a fair criticism of Matt Taibbi in that situation would be like, you could speculate why Elon Musk decided to pick the guy, but any reporter is going to take that information. And why did he pick Bari Weiss? And is it because those people had been sympathetic to his plight, or his like cause of like freeing, liberating Twitter from the censorship of the libs? You know what I mean? That was going to be their rallying cry together. And then just days later, after he's like having some tantrum about somebody, who he'd personally said in the past he was going to do nothing about. He was like, oh yeah, I support this because that's still free speech. He's like, okay, no, he's going to just go full renegade, ban whomever he wants because he feel so strongly about it. But then he's going to still simp to this lady. And it just shows you guys if the desperation, the groveling, like if I needed to present a better argument that our economy is super rigged and that you don't become the richest man in the world. Now he's the second richest man in the world because he's imploded fucking Tesla along with Twitter over the past couple of months. Seriously, guys, just Google the Tesla stock index. It's down, terrible, trash, bad, horrible, sad. But anyway, so to think that guy somehow is the smartest guy in the room or the most stable guy in the room or the guy that deserves to have fucking hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth is absolutely absurd because he's literally crying to the most sympathetic journalist about him about why he's not like a massive hypocrite. And as Gavin pointed out, lying about his child. Like, this man has no morals. He has no ethical compass. The only this should be a learning curve for any of these journalists that thought that Elon was actually going to seriously change Twitter. The capitalist system, the pursuit of profit, and all of these kinds of things will never allow for a uniform, First Amendment, by the book approach to a website like that. It's always going to have a maniacal leader, somebody that owns it and it's theirs and it's a private company and blah, 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 regardless of what they're saying rhetorically. So now even the most loyal villagers are starting to revolt.
Right. It's pretty crazy that even Bari Weiss felt the need to come out here and make that strongly worded statement. Also, huge shout out to you, Adam, for the 249. Really appreciate that. Enjoying a hot whiskey with the show in Ireland. Hell yeah, bro. We were just talking about Irish coffee, so that's very appropriate. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's awesome that you're tuning in from Ireland. Always appreciate hearing from our international viewers. So thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah, shout out to you, Adam. I'm always super impressed by people who say they're tuning in from another country because I'm like, I barely have enough time to keep up with all the fucking politics of my own country and not feel too stressed out, but to borrow too. And I know a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're a global superpower and that we make our problems everybody else's problems. So it's good to stay ahead of the curve, I imagine, if you're in your shoes. But anyway, shout out to you, Adam. I hope you're enjoying that hot whiskey in Ireland.
Yeah, shout out to you, Adam. Thanks so much. And also shout out to you, Hysteric Raider, for the $2. Really appreciate that. I recommend dual screen or one big 4K screen at Zach. Do you remember what he's?
Oh yeah, Hysteric Raider's talking about how I get distracted by the chat sometimes because I try and keep up with what everybody in chat is talking about. I'm interested to know what you guys are debating. What's the contentious element of the show? Sometimes fucks up what I'm saying. Anyway, they were recommending that maybe a dual screen setup or one big screen would be better than just staring at my laptop.
Yeah, that's something that I do too. That when I'm talking and then someone's like fucking slandering me in the chat or something, I'm like, what? I gotta focus on this. Don't get distracted. But yeah, thanks, Hysteric Raider. Really appreciate the $2. And yeah, the last note I wanted to make on the Elon Musk Twitter story is just to throw up this tweet by Sagar and Jetty, someone who is on the right and who has been pretty charitable to Elon Musk, at least in the beginning of this whole Twitter takeover. He seemed like he thought it was a good idea. He defended Elon Musk and like, let's give this guy a chance. Yet another person who should be an ally to Elon Musk's intentions is out here being like, this is straight bullshit. He says flight data is publicly available from the FAA and has survived court challenge. It is within the obvious bounds of the First Amendment. The consequences of free speech are not always as fun as any public person, including myself, can attest to. And yet that is why it is important to defend. And then he goes on to post this receipt. If you're quibbling with my definition of free speech and whether this should be included, I simply point you in the direction of someone who once included it in theirs. Damn. Elon Musk tweet from November 6th saying, my commitment to free speech extends even to not banning the account following my plane, even though it is a direct personal safety risk. So just a shameless fucking hack, Elon Musk. No actual No regard whatsoever for the First Amendment. Any claims he made about caring about free speech were total bullshit. What this reminds me of is like when a fucking, like populist politician takes over some country, promising that they're going to make everything better, promising that they're going to make the country more democratic, and then like 2 days into office, they like fire all their critics, lock up all of their opponents, and just go full dictator. That's basically what Elon Musk has done here.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he was bankrolled by the American government. He was in the form of countless subsidies throughout his career, after all. But yeah, great point by Sagar, who again is a conservative, is a guy that, he's not an anti-capitalist. He comes at this from a completely different perspective than us, but and he is a pretty pro free speech guy. So yeah, good for him to point that out. And yeah, he had the nuts on Elon in that one with the I vaguely remember that tweet, but I did not go back in time and pull it. So always good to see the receipts.
Absolutely. Shout out to Sagar for coming in with a truth bomb, dropping it straight on Mr. Musk. Yeah, do you want to talk next about this fucking Donald Trump special announcement real quick before we get into the Vaush drama?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've been waiting to talk about this because it was the announcement of the year, century, folks. The announcement of the century, folks. This was quite a banger, as the kids call it. We've all been wondering what the fuck Donald Trump was going to do to start drumming up excitement for his presidential campaign, right? I mean, he announced super early. He had his press announcement, which kind of came and went. His announcement, rained down with a thud. He was trying to steal the energy away from Ron DeSantis, who was riding a big high after the midterms. Florida being the one thoroughly red state. And after that, he's been on a mission to steal Ron DeSantis's sunshine in Florida, right? 100%. So we're waiting. We're like, what's he going to do? This is Donald Trump. This is a man, if anything, he knows how to conduct media attention. He knows how to get the cameras on him. And people are starting to whisper. They're like, what could this major announcement be? Is it going to be the vice president announcement already? What is it going on? Is it about an indictment? Is he going to announce something else? Like, what's going on? What could this possibly be related to? Is he going to be responding to the fucking, what was the Trump Foundation lawsuits and all those kinds of things? Nobody knew. But Donald Trump knew what America wanted to see from him. They wanted to see him arrive 18 months late to a tired Fed at the literal worst time in history to roll them out. He brings us his offering of $99 NFT trading cards, digital trading cards, of which he is the star. Holy shit. How is this timeline real?
Oh my god, and they're so fucking ugly. Why is all NFT art so bad?
Wait, is this one real?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was fake. I was like, wait, we have to pull up the real ones. These look too obviously fake. I'm fucked right now. I've only seen the superhero one on front. This can't be the trading cards. Are you? Oh man, this is like Christmas came early. This is fucking hilarious.
It genuinely blows my mind. I've never seen an NFT piece of art that was good. It's like as soon as your artwork gets turned into an NFT, it just the quality gets degraded. Like, how is this so fucking bad? This looks like shit. Look at this one. Imagine buying that for any amount of money, let alone $99. What the fuck, dude? These are just comically fucking bad. Look at that shit. It looks like a bad Photoshop. Like, what the fuck is going on? Here's another one. Looking about like 200 pounds lighter than he actually is, too. Like, what the fuck, dude? You're not that skinny. Just own it. You're a fucking big dude. Like, what the hell?
Oh my.
Yeah.
One, you could tell that there was no NFL team that would like collaborate with Donald Trump, so he has to have this like generic ass hat on that, and like he's holding a football. But it's all super generic. There's an American flag kind of in the background here, and yeah, the man's like 200 pounds slimmer because it's not actually a photograph of him. They've just edited out his face. It's like a shoddy Photoshop job. Gavin could probably get it done in like 30 minutes. They literally just drew some like, alpha male shit. And then, oh my God, this is so funny. It reminds me of What is it that it reminds me of? I know. I'm trying to think of it. Rescue Heroes. Like did you watch that shit when you were a kid, Gavin? Pull that shit up so people can see what I'm talking about. It would be like if Donald Trump just was like looking up old Rescue Hero stills, copy and pasted them onto Photoshop, and then yeah, dude, this kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean? This is about the level of quality that you're getting here. Anyway.
I think I do remember these actually. This brings back some like deep-seated childhood memories looking at these fucking things. Yeah, I do remember playing with these guys, and you're right, it does look like that. Just comically fucking dog shit art. Again, I've never seen a good NFT, but these really take the cake for just dog shit quality. Look at that. Look at that. Like it looks no words for this. That one might be the best yet. What the fuck?
It's so obviously not a picture of him, guys. This is insane. This man's about to run for president again, guys. This is so just you can't even believe how bad this is. This is a guy that is, you know, he used to call himself a billionaire. We all know that's not true. He's nowhere near a billionaire anymore, especially with all the fucking lawsuits coming his way. But this man was formerly the president of the United States, and this is just embarrassingly bad. We would not put this kind of content out like even as a joke how bad this is. Like, this is so fucking funny. Like, it's like they didn't even do a good enough job of getting whatever the background was of his head from the old photograph that they borrowed it from. So the light is hitting it like completely wrong from how an actual photograph would. Like, why would there be light there and not on his shoulders? Guys, nobody asks these simple questions. I do such dog shit graphic design and art and anything visual. And even I'm spotting flaws in this. Gavin, I'm sure you could really rip this thing to shreds.
Yeah, it looks like one of those like standee like cardboard cutouts or something that you might see in like a movie theater maybe. But I just cannot fathom how this like got through quality control at Team Trump. Like, if you're gonna sell NFTs, if you're gonna hawk some bullshit scam fucking NFTs, which, as you mentioned, Zach, the ship has kind of sailed for already. The craze ended many months ago.
Also, with the FTX shit going down, right?
Yeah, the timing is comically bad. But if you are gonna fucking do this, if you are gonna release some NFTs, God, they couldn't have found a better artist to do them up. Like, who the fuck did you hire? What the fuck is going on here, guys? Apparently they already instantly sold out though. So I guess, you know, mission success. He can just put a piece of shit on a plate and people will buy it in his fan base. You have to imagine some people bought it ironically, I'm sure, but still a truly new low for Donald Trump, in my opinion. And you're right, Zach, it's so surreal to me. The guy's running for president right now, but it doesn't really feel like it. The only time he's really been in the news since announcing his campaign was the Kanye West and Nick Fuentes debacle in Mar-a-Lago. But that's like the only time he's really made news, and that's definitely not a thing you want to be in the news for. And like in the past, in 2016, for example, Trump did this thing where he would trigger the libs, and then all the mainstream media would freak out about it and create headlines about him, and it would actually help him and make him stronger. But now it's like he just seems so out of touch. He's just like, it's not really that edgy to meet with literal Nazis and coddle them. So it's not really like he's owning the libs. It's just like he's being stupid and getting called out for it. And even a lot of people on the right are put off at this point, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Which leads me into my next kind of question for you. Something we've been keeping an eye on, as has the left or the rest of the breathing world, really, in America, or the rest of the breathing country, excuse me. You know, normalizing America as the whole world. Zach, shame on you. But anyway, we've all been paying attention to the Republican primary, and yeah, just how much of a dud Donald Trump seems to be this time around, just constantly embarrassing himself and just not being the draw attention wise nearly that he was in 2016. I mean, in 2016, this man was a spectacle, right? And I think that he's, eroded so much of his base. One, people realized that he wasn't actually going to meaningfully change their lives, which he didn't. So the people who were like, oh, on a women of prayer, I'm going to support Donald Trump because he's different, those people are gone back to not voting, not caring, or they've moved on to another political project, right? The people who were like the pearl clutching Republicans that plugged their nose and fucking voted for the guy, they're pretty much gone from him, especially after January 6th, everything leading up to it, right? And now with the Kanye, Nick Fuentes stuff, that's not helping him out at all, right? And then just a smattering of other people who are just like, they're just not gonna go for him because he doesn't attract the same draw. He doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the same eye-catching je ne sais quoi about the dude. I mean, obviously he was oafish, he was a buffoon, he was terrible and odious and all of the kind of criticisms that you could have of the guy, but he was a fucking spectacle, right? He was funny to watch. He would demand attention in his own way. All those kind of things are gone, and it's definitely opened up more and more speculation that he will have a significant, substantial challenger in the primary, which is again Ron DeSantis. If you pull up this Suffolk poll, it's one poll, and admittedly it is you can select a poll that finds Donald Trump, the same story, but this is a change, right? Because if you look at 60% of registered voters don't want Trump or Biden to run in 2024, and those numbers are pretty consistently high. We all hated our options in 2020. We don't want to have those same options again. Par for the course. I think that makes a ton of sense. And so I do think that gives Ron DeSantis a little bit of a leg up. And then just like, I thought you couldn't, I kept kind of buying into the argument that you couldn't write off Donald Trump, that you couldn't ignore the guy, that he had too much of a base and it was coming. I'm starting to believe that might not be as true. I'm starting to believe that if the whole machine of the Republican Party got behind a guy like Ronnie D, Deep State Donnie, Ronnie, Deep State Ron. See, it doesn't work as well as Deep State Don. That would be Deep State Donald Trump. I fucked that up. I'm sorry. But do you remember it? I mean, and this is not good news. This is not good news at all. Ron DeSantis is a much more capable politician than Donald Trump. There was just reporting that came out about how he personally oversaw torture at Guantanamo Bay. And, the descriptions of his facial reactions and, the perceived joy on his face makes everybody that read that concerned, I would hope. Or reads it, excuse me. But you know what I'm saying? Anyway, what are your thoughts on this, Gavin?
Yeah, and this isn't the only poll, Zach. Here's another story about Trump lashing out, coping and seething at a Wall Street Journal poll, which suggests that Ron DeSantis is beating him by quite a bit. DeSantis led Trump 52% to 38% in the Wall Street Journal survey. And then, they reference this poll that you discussed as well. So I think Trump's going down, man. I think Trump's going down. I mean, we have to wait to see, but it ain't going well for the guy. His campaign has been absolutely pathetic so far. It feels like he only announced it at this point in the first place just to avoid or to try to scare the Justice Department after indicting him, because it's always a little bit more difficult to indict active presidential candidate. So I really do think the only reason why he announced as early as he did was to try to prevent more legal consequences. And it just seems like his heart isn't in it. He's not really running on anything. It's not like he has a real agenda or platform. And meanwhile, he's just, every time he does anything, it just makes DeSantis look so much more capable, competent, and electable in comparison. So I really do struggle to see a reality where Donald Trump can turn this thing around. I'm not totally pounding the gavel. I still think that he has a chance at winning the Republican nomination. But assuming that DeSantis does run, Trump's a limping fucking antelope at this point.
Let me paint a potential reality for you and see how this sounds to you. And then chat, you guys let me know if you think I'm off base or if this, what percentage, what are the odds we think this goes down? So the Republican Party at this point is still just fucking desperate. And I'm talking about the big cows, the folks that run it, right? The oliphants, if you will, the biggins. Those people are, and a lot of their base too, a lot of the supporters across the country, they're ready for the Republican Party to put the Trump era behind them. They're embarrassed by it. They feel ashamed. They feel like it's impossible for them to run their kind of politics of respectability and family values with a guy like Donald Trump around, constantly flying in the face of any of that, which obviously we know is all rhetorical, Rage Against the Machine, rally around the family, pocket full of shells, right? We all know that deal, that old pump fake the Republican Party is selling you. But it's harder on their image, right? And they're ready to go back to that, a return to normalcy, a return to this. While their fiscal politics will remain the same, they can present themselves differently in a way that will allow them to start performing better, right? They got their ass whooped compared to what they were hoping for in the midterms. They lost the presidency. They had a sitting president lose, which is not something that the party ever wants to see happen. All kinds of things like that. They're so ready to end the Trump era, right? They're so ready to start like warmly welcoming back the like Joe Scarboroughs and the rest of the never Trumpers and being like, see, you can be a Republican again, and start like, shaking hands with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and being like, see, now it's civil again. We're all down and rocking and rolling with civility politics. So here is my prediction, and I wonder if it'll work out this way. Considering the fact that we know that there is absolutely nothing rational or reasonable about Ron DeSantis. Even I think that what the Republican Party is going to do, and even some liberals that will disappoint us in the future, are going to start to do is they're going to start to portray Ron DeSantis as like an old school Republican, like a reasonable guy. They're going to start to whitewash his career and scrub it of all of its like horrible things. They're not going to mention that shit on the debate stage. The liberal press isn't going to come after Ron DeSantis in the way, because they want to squash Trump. They want that respectability back. You will have the entire Republican establishment coalesce the way the Democrats coalesce behind Biden. I think that there's a reason to believe that the Republicans will coalesce around Ron DeSantis, right? Now, I think there's a chance that and this is not to get like too conspiratorial, right? What if they just say, you know what, we're scrubbing our hands of this. We win in the primary. Ron DeSantis is the Republican nominee. Like, why risk Donald Trump trying to run third party? Why not put him in jail? Why not get this guy out of the fucking place where the liberals don't want him where he can run? The Republicans at that point aren't going to want him to run. I'm talking about like April or May this year. It starts to, in 2024, right? You start to you figure it out. It's ironed out, or even before then, if the polling is so like fucking sure, or maybe they just don't even want to risk waiting until the primary at all with this indictment hanging down the way. Donald Trump starts to look weaker and weaker. Do you think that even the Republican Party starts to turn on him with these indictments piling up? I've always been a huge Donald Trump, like actually doing time skeptic. I've never bought in it. I'm always like, the United States is going to hate the fucking optics of having a former U.S. president in the can. We've avoided it for fucking ever. We've never had a president serve jail time in the entire history of the United States. A former president's never served a day of jail time that I know of. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. If it has, it hasn't been recent. So what do you think about all of that? Do you think they let him go to the jail? You think the Republicans acquiesce and make it happen so that he can't run again? So he can't just do the whole like what's Ross Perot thing and just like kneecap them. What do you think?
It's a very distinct possibility. Because the Republicans don't want this guy around their neck anymore. He's a huge fucking embarrassment. And I think that the number one reason why not only the establishment, but eventually, inevitably, the Republican electorate will turn on Trump is simply electability. The guy's not electable. They want to win. At the end of the day, they do care about winning. And yeah, I think you're right that all of Trump's legal issues, all of his scandals and controversies are dragging down the entire party. That was made abundantly clear by the midterm election results, in which many Trump-endorsed candidates, if not almost all Trump-endorsed candidates, failed miserably, underperformed their polling. Herschel Walker got embarrassed in Georgia. Basically, everyone associated with this guy went the fuck down. Everyone associated with his dumbass conspiracies went the fuck down. And Alex points out that DeSantis is more anti-vax, which conservatives love. I think that will definitely be a factor in the primary and the election. But I really do think that it's not going to matter as much as the electability thing. The pandemic is kind of over in the minds of most people. It's not one of the issues that voters are reporting to be at the top of their list of concerns. I don't even think it's in like the top 5 or the top 10 anymore. So I don't actually think the anti-vax COVID stuff is going to matter as much as DeSantis supporters initially thought it would. But I really do think it's going to come down to electability, right? Like the voters and the establishment on the right wing want to win. They know Trump cannot win. He is a uniquely perfect candidate for Joe Biden to fucking Drax once again. Joe Biden would love nothing more than a rematch with Donald Trump because he would win that. He would fucking win that almost certainly. But put DeSantis up there and Biden's going to be sweating fucking bullets or whoever the Democrats nominate. So, I think the electability thing is even more important. And I absolutely could see a scenario, Zach, where the Republican establishment just outright turns on Donald Trump and gives the green light, says, we will allow you to indict him and it can be a bipartisan conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, I know that sounds like very, West Wing politics, kind of like, ooh, that would be like sexy bipartisanship, please. So that probably won't happen because I don't know. I predicted it, but I wouldn't be surprised if something along those lines, occurs. But who knows? Only time will tell. But I mean, what you said about Ron DeSantis being able to basically steamroll Joe Biden on a debate stage, I think anybody with a functioning brain on a good day could just steamroll Joe Biden on a debate stage. I mean, if you know anything at all about politics, you could just fucking berate this man, make him look stupid, make him look like he has no idea what he's talking about, make him look slow. And if you were effective, you could do that without making yourself look like a huge dick for belittling an old man, right? Because you could talk about how important it is, national security issues, all these kinds of things that, people would be like, well, it is fucking true that, you can't be this like fucking old man that doesn't know where he is and be our president. Like, Ron DeSantis would definitely be able to fucking do that. No question about it. I think that the biggest hurdle for Ron DeSantis is that he's short. And I think that Vaush made a good point when he said this country will not. I say this as a person who's not tall enough to become president. You have to be at least 6 foot to become president. I'm not 6 foot. I'm not going to become president. I don't want to be president. Oof. Dodged that bullet. I'd rather be in the NBA. If I could have been 7 foot, we would have been talking. Okay, I would have never done this podcast if I was 7 feet tall. 100% would have been an NBA boy instead. Even if I was just their warm-up guy, 7 feet tall, like you're getting on the roster, bro. You're getting retirement money early. You're gonna have some arthritis though, so yin and yang. As they say, come see, come saw is what they say.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because Joe Biden actually used to be a good debater. If you remember his debate with Paul Ryan in 2012, the vice presidential debate, he fucking destroyed Paul Ryan. Do you know what I'm talking about? But the Joe Biden of today, I agree, is quite a bit more vulnerable to embarrassing debate performance, obviously because of his advanced age and the fact that he often does not appear or seem to know where the fuck he is or what he's doing.
It's gotten so much worse. We used to, liberal media used to fucking just destroy Trump for like, we need to have this like fucking psychologist look at Donald Trump and like diagnose him and doing all this stuff. Haven't seen any of those people paraded out on The View to fucking assess Joe Biden. You know why? Because it's a waste of fucking money, Gavin. You take one look at that guy and you're like, oh my God, your brain is tapioca pudding. There's nothing going on there. How did they turn the lights on in the morning? I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, so I do agree that the senile Joe Biden of the modern present is very vulnerable to a debate with a guy like DeSantis. Although DeSantis is also a little bit unlikable in my opinion, but I guess he appeals to the right wingers. I just think he's a whiny, fucking annoying person. But
well, that's because you are a fucking your politics are antithetical to everything that man stands for. But I was just all of my analysis is just looking at the average voter and how they're going to calculate between Joe Biden and Ron DeSantis. Obviously, you and I are both voting for fucking, I don't know, anybody but those two. It's Act 2024. I will never run for president, but I appreciate the sentiment, Alex. One, I'm not 35 yet, and two, I'm not 6 foot, and I never will be.
You can be my press secretary, Zach.
Honestly, if Gavin wins the fucking presidency, then that would be the one time I would actually serve. Gavin would be assassinated. I would pick it would look like the fucking scene in Pulp Fiction. I would be like scrubbing Gavin's picking up bits and skull and whatnot. I'd be calling the wolf, you know, I'd be cleaning Gavin's brain out of a fucking car if he ran in what, and not even if he won, he wouldn't have to win. He would have to get like 4% in a primary. They're got to get rid of this guy before he really builds up steam. You know, I'd be like, I'd be like, I told you this was gonna happen. Fucking, this was real leather. Fucking damn it, this asshole.
That's funny as fuck. Thank you so much, Alex. And also shout out once again that Trump trading cards are a high person idea. Yeah, I guess. Although I know we both smoke cannabis, Alex, and I don't think we would have had that fucking idea. But I definitely see your point, bro.
Not only that, this is we have another word for that. Instead of a high person idea, let's just call it a bad idea, right? That was just a fucking bad idea. That was an idea that somebody should have batted down and said, next, what are we doing for real? I swear to God, when Gavin pulled up the picture, I hadn't seen the deck of cards all the way through. I thought it was fake. I was like, Gavin, let's get into the trolling pictures later if we want to, but like, let's look at the real cards first. I want to mock them. No, those were the real cards. And also, let's not remember that Donald Trump did nothing to move forward with the end of the prohibition of cannabis and, you know, expunging the records of people. He did absolutely none of that. What he did was he auctioned off some pardons for some celebrity pictures, right? Like Lil Wayne was in the White House taking pictures of him. Lil Pump, before he completely eroded his career, he was also there taking a picture with Donald Trump, stuff like that. But that was all he actually cared about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate the super chat, man. And do you want to move on to our final story for today, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear from Vaush. See, this is what's interesting about this. I haven't seen Vaush's take yet, but I thought we've reacted to the Shoe0nHead thing that created all the controversy. And I know Vaush and Shoe are like friendly. I'm surprised what he has to like really call her out for. So I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, this is an interesting segment. You guys remember we were just talking the other day about some drama related to Shoe0nHead, who was tweeting up a storm and kind of ruffling some feathers by pointing out the bizarre Balenciaga photo shoots involving children. And it created quite a controversy. We defended Shoe0nHead. I don't think that she did anything wrong by making those points. But Vaush had a little bit more critical take on the subject matter. And as Zach mentioned, they are friends, not just like collaborators, but they're actually friends. So I know it's always tough to criticize your friends in a public way as a commentator. It's definitely makes it more weird and awkward. And, you know, no one wants to publicly shit on someone that they're friends with. So I thought this was interesting. And I'm interested to hear your opinion on the validity of Vaush's criticism here. Because I have mixed feelings, admittedly. Either way, let's take a look here and we can break it down. We're not going to watch this whole fucking video. I just wanted to react to about 5 or 10 minutes of it. So let's take a look.
Okay, I'm just gonna get right to this. Okay, all right. You guys know how in the past I've talked about how there's a difference between people's political opinions and the actual outcomes of the stuff that they say and produce. Here's the issue, okay? In terms of Shoe's political opinions, she is a Bernie Sanders supporter through and through. Trust me, I've known her longer and closer as a friend than you guys have. She is authentically and sincerely, as a person to her heart, pro-trans, pro-gay, you know, not a communist or whatever, but it authentically, like, ideologically aligned with Bernie Sanders and I guess the general movement that he inspired. Like, you can fit her in that category. That is the case. However, that is not that, you know, a person's positions are not a full reflection of the actual outcome that they have as a public figure. So here's the thing that I'm going to do, okay? I am going to talk about all the ways in which this video and her behavior embolden the far right, even if those aren't her intentions or positions. It is going to take a while. That is what we're going to do. I've said this before with other people, right? There are other people whose positions and behavior don't align. Destiny pals around with neo-Nazis and has a community that basically just like coddles them and rehabilitates them. But as an actual, like, in terms of his opinions, like, he would align with, like, probably left of center on most things that he actually believes. It's about people's behavior, right? Like, whether you say he was being honest or not, Sargon of Akkad would say that he is like a liberal, progressive, women's rights, whatever, while doing the whole Gamergate thing. Like what people actually believe. Now, Sargon's an idiot and also very disingenuous, and some say there were things wrong with Destiny too. But what we're really talking about here aren't people's positions. This is one of the reasons why it really frustrates me when people in my community are like wrong on this, you know? I'm gonna reveal some shit that okay, the tea is hot. I'm gonna reveal shit you guys have never heard anywhere else. The secret relationship between me and Shoe. Okay? For years, Shoe and I have been good friends. She's always been really nice to me, even back when I was a really small content creator, in a totally non-transactional way, without any like benefit to her, like at all, really. She's just been really like nice, which I've always respected because this has always been like a pretty hostile space for me. Like you guys understand, you know I make very few friends out here. A lot of people have accused me of being like too charitable to Shoe as a product of us being friends. I don't apologize for being friends to her because with her behavior to me, she has certainly earned that because she's always been really good, like just to talk to and like reliable, like, you know, I don't know. It's just a friend. It's a thing, being a friend. But I think there's some legitimacy to the idea that my like being friends with her has, even if like my position is, oh yeah, you can dislike Shu if you want, like I definitely treat her differently than other people, you know? So okay, we'll get to it. But you guys have to be on your best behavior.
So after hearing Vaush's initial preamble to the argument that he's going to lay out, I can already see how I'm probably not going to agree with his framing here, because his idea is basically anytime that the left like tries to make make out like something as like a problem for children, right? Like it's 100% giving into the framework of the people who are creating the like groomer outrage, right? He's saying that you're buying into their framework, right? And I already watched his video and I had the exact opposite takeaway when we reacted to it, which was, hey, as a leftist, you can talk about how, yes, these things are very concerning. Here's how workplace safety is the appropriate solution to this. Here is how an anti-capitalist solution is the best long-term solution to this. And then you can assuage any fears that they would have had in good faith while also not buying into the rhetorical framing of the right wing, and also not pretending that there's a problem that doesn't exist. And I also think it's a tad ironic for Vaush to come out here and set this huge table, right? You know where I'm going with this, I think already, Gavin. But this man, like a year and some change ago, got blasted to high hell by people like ContraPoint. She was really pissed off at him about it. And I think this was later, but they now no longer follow each other on Twitter or something. Like there was a lot of drama surrounding this. But anyway, Vaush came out and said, hey, if we want Pride to be like a really family friendly event, then we should get rid of the more like kinkier elements of that, or like keep that for the nightclubs, because a lot of people will have this like negative association with people who are dressed in their kinks at Pride. If you also want children around, and this kind of goes back to similar arguments that were made about like, oh, like I don't have a problem with drag queens, but I don't want them to do X, Y, or Z, and you could just as easily say that it played into those arguments, or even kind of created a lot of those kinds of discussions that we're going back to. And a lot of people took what Vaush had to say very uncharitably. And while I disagreed with Vaush, and I'm not a member of the LGBT community, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt, but I was like, isn't the whole idea of Pride to normalize, these things that are, fetishized or like considered otherized or whatever. And, don't bring your kid to Pride if you don't want your kid to see that, I guess. But like, if anybody wants to bring their kid wherever the fuck they want, for the most part, that's their business. That's my takeaway of all of that. But Vaush just got raked over the coals. A lot of people were really nasty to him, challenged whether or not he was actually authentically a member of the LGBTQ community. It was really ugly. And he, if I'm not mistaken, Gavin, correct me if I'm wrong, he doubled down. And so he clearly did not necessarily want to hold himself to the standard. It would seem that just because right-wingers are making a fucking claim that you yourself would need to stay away from it. That would be my preface to this. Like, I haven't heard his exact argument for Shoe, but just as somebody who's familiar with the way these things tend to go, I'm like putting the pieces together and I'm saying, I don't know. I would give Shoe the benefit of the doubt, just like I did give Vaush the benefit of the doubt. I was like, I don't agree with you, but Vaush is clearly an ally of the LGBTQ community. It's undeniable. Like, let's just say, hey, I disagree with you on this. Here's my thought process. I think X, Y, and Z, which is what we do on this show all the fucking time. It's not that hard. But anyway, that's just the vibe I'm getting, the energy I'm getting here.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Zach. Let's keep watching for a couple more minutes before I give you guys my official reaction and opinion.
All right, because like here's a thing, right? Here we go with Vaush acting like Shoe doesn't know exactly what she's doing, just patronizing us from decoy tricks in chat. Okay, you have never left your house. Let's not even talk about not knowing Shoe. You know, you've never spoken to another human. Okay, you're an experiment. All right, you're living in a computer simulation. You have no idea. For God's sake, please let me handle this. I swear, because you people are so fucking horny to jump down my throat that every argument here turns into one between me and chat. Because you know I want to argue with you guys, right? I fucking love arguing with you people. I see a bad take in chat and I jump on that shit. Don't give me any bait. Just let me do this. Starting right away. So, right off the bat, we've got a couple of issues in terms of, again, not position-wise, but in terms of, like, what the outcome of this rhetoric and behavior is. Emboldening the right.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of take an issue with. He's like, forget the actual position and substance. What really matters is how this will affect the discourse and whether or not the right wing can glom onto this and potentially use it to advance their own conspiratorial notions. It kind of reminds me of when we criticize Joe Biden relentlessly for being a terrible president and a sellout to the American people and to working people. And if you make a bunch of anti-Joe Biden commentary and content where you constantly call him out, by the very nature of making anti-Democrat or Joe Biden content, that might get watched and elevated by some people on the right. Like if I just tweeted out, fuck Joe Biden, he's a dog shit president, there's a good chance that a lot of right wingers would retweet that if it somehow went viral. And you could make the same argument that Vaush just made about Shoe. It's like, well, even though Gavin is on the left and even though he doesn't support Republicans, this anti-Joe Biden tweet sure, picked up a lot of steam with the MAGA crowd. Let's pay attention to the effect that your rhetoric is having. To which I would respond, it's out of my control who's fucking elevating or amplifying my anti-Joe Biden sentiment. It's not my fault if a bunch of MAGA accounts start retweeting my anti-Joe Biden tweet or sharing my anti-Joe Biden video just because it happens to help their agenda. That's kind of out of my control. So I don't think that's a terribly fair criticism. And while I do think it's fair to point out that Shoe has kind of existed or flirted with some right-wing spaces and figures in the past, I just don't see how that's particularly relevant here. And if you're concerned with the fact that only the right-wingers care about this Balenciaga scandal, well, Shoe's not a right-winger. So shouldn't you be glad that she's giving some representation to the left as far as caring about this issue, which I think most people would agree is really creepy and bizarre and should at least in some way be addressed?
Yeah, 100%. And also, doesn't it kind of stand exactly in the face of the arguments that you made to defend yourself after you basically created an entire talking point for the right wing with the hysteria that the left drummed up after you said you shouldn't have kink and pride? Like, I'm not putting that all on Vaush. I don't think it was like, you can't like blame that on an individual person, but by his logic, he's responsible for just putting these kinds of thoughts into the ether, right? This was before the whole like rumor thing really took hold in the drag. And then it was like, should kids be around drag queens? That was like the next iteration of that conversation. And again, he doubled down completely. I also said, like, look, this isn't Vaush's problem. Like, we need to talk about like the X, Y, and Z, like, LGBTQ people are obviously not fucking groomers and pedophiles. It shouldn't even need to be said, right? Like, it sounds like shooting yourself in the foot just to begin an argument like that. Unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. But he doesn't seem to be able to draw the parallels between like the genuine concern that Shoe has, and again, that he's pretending like Shoe's number one issue isn't like fucking child pedophilia, which is again, it's an interesting hill for somebody to choose to die on, but for some reason that really speaks to her, and she has every right to talk about how that's a huge fucking problem, and she can show the receipts of every single time she's like fucking, you know, died on that hill, if you will. So for him to pretend like this is all in a vacuum, I don't know.
Absolutely. Also, David, we have considered for the last like 3 Halloweens, Zach and I have been like, hey, we should go as Jay and Silent Bob, and then it never ends up happening because we get lazy and forget to actually buy the appropriate costumes to make it happen, like the right clothes. But yes, this is something we've considered doing now for at least the last 2 Halloweens. At some point, I promise it'll happen.
Yeah, in fact, I've many a times called us the Jay and Silent Bob Guard as part of our intro. So shout out to you, David.
Yeah, Zach and I have always been huge fans of Kevin Smith and Clerks, and we've always thought it was hilarious that people sometimes call us the Jay and Silent Bob of the left. Consider it quite an honor. But yeah, that's a random aside. Thank you for the important question, David. Glad we could address it. But yeah, let's maybe watch just a few more minutes of this before we get out of here. Definitely interesting to watch Vaush, talk about this.
Not to like leaving aside the fact that her initial characterization of people's response to Balenciaga left out the fact that it was the far right who jumped in it, not people. Leaving aside the fact she didn't mention that Britney is a Nazi. This is relevant info. Moral panics coming from like the far right are different from just, oh, people are concerned about. It is a critical distinction, And then she jumps into this, oh, haha, if I get assassinated. Again, this isn't about positions. Nothing she's saying here is explicitly far right, or even, by the way, explicitly incorrect. I've made jokes about, oh, bullet in the back of my head, whatever. But as we're going to see, there's kind of a pattern of like, I don't think Shoe's far right, but holy shit, does she go out of her way to not make them angry with her, But we'll get to it.
Best part about this, though, has to be I was fact-checked by Twitter, and this is what they said. Although Shoe often makes comments to cause amusement or laughter, this is an authentic Balenciaga marketing photograph. It contains an excerpt from
All right,
the
so we already watched the shoe video. That's basically the part I really wanted to react to. If we had a little more time, we could keep parsing through this. But I think Vaush is just going to make the same point for the next 2 hours. So I think you guys get the point. Do you have anything else to add about that, Zach?
No, not really. Look, I just disagree with this framing. I think that if you the whole point of the Left Project on, YouTube is to take some of these more, right-wing talking points, break them down, talk about the root cause of them and why you're being misled, right? So no, it's not actually just like the fact that like, oh, because the dots that the fucking right wing wants you to connect with that story: high fashion, gay folks, groomers, pedophilia, that kind of thing. It's obvious, it's clear as day. And what you actually have to talk about is it's actually the powers of capitalism that manipulate people and make the fashion industry a high abuse industry, and also like everybody, including in the left, certainly the left, is against childhood harm. Connect that to workplace issues. I just don't see how it was that hard to dispel all of that, or why it would be a problem to engage with that. I get that maybe he took issue with the way that she left some information out and thought she could have done a better job. That's fine. That's just like fair, friendly notes. I would have said this, X, Y, and Z. We also added a lot of our own context to that video when we reacted to it and flushed it out. So Vaush has every right to do that. But this idea that she needs to be like called out or scolded because she was like feeding into the right wing, in this instance, I don't see it. And I'm somebody who's usually pretty plugged into that. Like I usually have a good read on if somebody is, just out here, shilling for clicks or like dog whistling to the right, or if they're just genuinely concerned about something. So, who knows? But that was my read on the situation.
Yeah, I think she's a good faith actor. I really do. Don't agree with her on everything, but I do think I don't think she's a grifter, like you said, Zach. Also, thank you, Emil, for the $5. Really appreciate that, man. The military budget. Yeah, maybe I missed it, but any comments on the latest military budget? I have one question in a pompous, dismissive voice. How are you going to pay for it? Truly crazy. They just passed the largest military budget in history, yet again, and gave Biden $45 billion more than he even asked for. The Senate did. So just disgusting. And the fact that no one's even talking about it is, to be fair, we're guilty of that too. We didn't fucking talk about it until you brought it up, Emil. So our bad. We should be talking about it. We're talking about it now thanks to your super chat, so we appreciate that. But yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, even more than Biden asked for. pretty par for the course. That's, you know, it'd be rude to only give the president exactly what he asked for, which was, just a blank check for the Pentagon, essentially, at this point, right? There's the reason nobody talks about this on the left as much is because, like, what is there to say, bro? The fucking war machine keeps chomping it up, right? There's money for people to be made. I mean, it's the rinse, repeat. You know, it goes to the companies in the military industrial complex. It goes to the private contractors, and then they just keep printing it out. Some money, 800 million goes to Ukraine. There, another billion goes somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? That's how they, and also they have, almost 1,000 military bases around the world that they gotta keep up. That's how imperialism works. So yeah, I mean, it's just another day in the sunny U.S. of Old Ave. And yeah, so there's just not that much to add, unfortunately, man. I wish there was.
Yep, absolutely. There's really not, other than, wow, this is fucking crazy. And it is. But yeah, thank you so much for the $5 in meal. And really appreciate your generous super chat earlier as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. I thought we had a fun live stream. Really enjoying breaking down the destruction of Twitter at the hands of Elon Musk, the most petulant fucking child in the world. And it's crazy he's the richest man. Imagine being the richest man on planet Earth and you're still so fucking concerned with what people are saying about you on Twitter, or for your fucking critics on Twitter. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, absolutely insane. It just shows that, once a dweeb, always a dweeb, Elon. No amount of zeros in your bank account can ever make you anything other than the class nerd. Now you're just the class nerd that everybody hates because you're a billionaire. But anyway, shout out to you, Hysteric Raider. That also the Pentagon can never ever account for their money. They'll send a limit from Congress and they'll just laugh it off and they'll say, "What are you fucking kidding me? You guys know what's going on. You know what's happening. Hey, the fuck you want from me? We don't know. We're all out of that shit. We got to make 100 million more of those. Come on." It's like the mafia runs our military. That's essentially how they run it. They run it like like, fuck you, pay me. Like, you want some of this shit? Fuck you, pay me. You want to know how many tanks I've got? Fuck you, pay me. Okay, sir. I'll just go fuck myself over here and write you a check for another $800 billion. Thank you. That's what everybody in our government does. That's how it works. I just saved you a lot of time if you were curious. But anyway, shout out to you, Esther.
Yeah, thanks so much, Hysteric Raider. And again, thanks everyone for tuning into the show today. Make sure to hit that like button on your way out. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the notification bell. And did you have anything else you wanted to add? Any parting words, Zach, before we get out of here?
No, I think I'm good, man. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Shout out to the patron community, all those lovely Vanguardians, super Vanguardians, comrades. Keep the wheels on our proverbial van, or in our warm studio, the lights on. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for the support, patrons. Hit up that link in the description, guys, if you're trying to support the show and keep us sustainable. The best way to do so is to hit up that link in the description, patreon.com/the Vanguard channel. It's a great way to support what we do if you enjoy the content we create and think our perspective is valuable. So yeah, hit that up, guys. You can have your own name up here on the shout out screen, in addition to the other benefits we offer our patrons, like access to the Discord server and priority in our monthly Q&A. So we really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for the support. Huge shout out to the patron community. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. So hit up that link in the description if you're trying to support the show. Even just like $5 a month really goes a long way. And with all that said, yeah, appreciate everyone tuning in. We had a great show. Awesome conversation. Really appreciate it hearing from you guys in the chat as well. Appreciate you guys for being a part of our community.
Yep. Peace out, guys. Bye.